starting the wrong thing. April 30th, we're renting out the community center.
We will be back from Florida. Yes.
So, yeah, for sure. Next weekend. The big difference is going to be it's going to be like 6 to 9:30 because we can't have it till after 10. So it's going to be an earlier party. A little different, but they have like all this awesome stuff there, like pool and air hockey, and on top of everything we already do. And it's a pretty large place. And I think they might have ping pong. They have like a game room, like Tornado Terry's.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh,
it's like
word.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Word.
People know about that. And then of course for you that got a ride out here, after we're done doing the chat, we can start giving rides back and all that good stuff. So I'm sure some people are like, I'm gonna get back to my car. I was out of town in Colorado, blizzarded in for our give back, so we're gonna do that again probably in 2 weeks. Same thing, just try to make it happen. Hopefully there won't be any blizzards. We just started online chat, so I've been talking about it for a little while. I got the first video out. And try to have the videos out a little bit faster. And just with school and kind of life, sometimes it's difficult to get those videos out, but I am trying. It took me about a month to just get one out, but why are y'all turning off the lights?
Oh, she's that's why.
Hey, we're over here like, who's doing that?
And on those online chats, I want to get into the more serious matters. So that's why we're doing those. If you want to like really kind of dive deep, that's the place to go. I don't want to like go too deep at the parties because that might kind of mess with the party mode. We're moving. And then coffee and tips. If you guys want to buy coffee or give tips, as always, much appreciated. So tonight, Pri and I are going to be talking to you from this years and years of wonderful experience. And since we just did celebrities, we thought we'd talk about masks. You know, kind of whenever people cover up who they really are, and not really the literal masks that you like put on for Halloween or a masquerade party, but just the other person that we feel like we have to be or we pretend to be. And there's several different reasons why people do that. But we...
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna go out this window over here.
Scary
Like this.
masks.
See, you put the mask back on? See, a lot of people, you would never know that Greg is a fun, friendly guy. But take it off. See, that's much he does.
Hey!
Hey, that's not so bad.
Don't scare the baby away. Levi, come here.
Thank you so much for that. That's a great example. That's what people do with their personalities. They'll put on a different personality and they'll take it off. And what happens to me is I'm like, well, who are you? You know? Because they'll say one thing, but they'll do something totally different. You know? And that's something that I pick up on really easily. And I noticed the reason why we're hitting on it is because we want people comfortable. It seems like masks make people uncomfortable. It makes the people that have them somewhat uncomfortable because normally these people are really like kind of crazy, fidgety in small ways. One big point I wanted to hit about masks is a lot of people have masks because of fear and insecurities. They don't have these like, I'm going to be this awesome millionaire guy because they're feeling good about it. It's because they have a fear or insecurity about not having value. So they put on this mask and that mask gives them value. But we all know it's phony and fake. We all like, it smells bad. It can be very easy to see when people have masks on, you know, and people talk about it all the time. The reason why we don't like them is because they just don't seem real. Just like Greg's mask, you know, it's something that we can notice. Most situations, it's unnecessary to have a mask. You know, a lot of people have masks, but in most situations, for like 90% or plus, it's unnecessary. So a lot of people are doing unnecessary work. There's some situations it is necessary, like James Bond. You know, he can't walk into a place and go, I'm James Bond, I'm a British spy, I'm here to steal your intel. You know, people would shoot him and stuff.
Why not?
And so, or stab him, or tie him and hold him over a pit of alligators. But that was the only real example I could think of where it's okay to have a mask, is if you basically have to lie to people. Oh, write that down in your notebook. And superheroes. Yeah, they don't want like 1,000 people showing up at their house. Like, you saved my baby. So, the epic way, like with some topics, I'll say this is the epic way. And one big thing that we want to put in epic is just help and talk to people about just being comfortable being you. Because when you're okay with being you, you can walk into a party and have a good time. Like, why in the world are they talking about masks? Because if you're not wearing a mask, you walk into a party and have a really good time. So we want to encourage people to fully accept others. You know, the reason why people wear masks usually is because someone else put that on. You're not good enough. Oh, let me put on this mask. I'll be good. You don't have to wear your mask. I'm sure we all, maybe at some point in time, have worn a mask. You know, maybe knowingly or unknowingly. Like, I have to be this. You don't have to do that. Not in Epic. And we don't want people doing that. And we want to accept people where they are. So whatever it looks like underneath the mask, we want to accept people where they are. And we want to journey with them to where they really want to be. So they can leave those masks on the ground and we can all accept each other and then walk towards maybe what that ideal really is. There's nothing really wrong with wanting to be successful or to do well or to be famous, you know, because it's just a really good talent, basically. It's something that you've worked on, you've built up over your life. But I did this once. I tried to look like I was rich and successful when I wasn't. When I met some rich and successful people, trust me, I was not anywhere near rich or successful. But here I am walking in the clothes. Here I am talking the talk. But if you check my bank account, you check my business transactions, don't trust that guy. So, you know, and it just stressed me out. That's a big thing. All in all, it just... Maybe Greg's been there. But it just ends up stressing you out at the end of the day.
I think we both snorted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to hand it off to Priya now, and she'll take this to the next level.
I've definitely been there, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. All those like pyramid scheme people.
Yep.
They always do it.
Yep.
All right. Those are a lot of the things that I was going to say, but I'll probably go a little bit into
She's
detail.
taking it anymore.
That's right. I was looking up the definition for mask, and it says a covering for all or part of the face, which we all know that. He just illustrated it for us. Worn as a disguise or to amuse or terrify other people. Used to hide, conceal, or disguise. Pretend, deceive, or bluff. Pretend to be someone who you're not.
Wow.
Okay, so
That's
those are
great.
all the definition for mask.
Yeah.
And having said that, is any of that attractive?
No.
Especially if you date a person who turns out to be something else than what he first came across to you.
Yeah.
It's unattractive. So why would we want to be that to anyone else? You know? So that's what I'm going to start off with as a question. You know, there are good masks. For instance, doctors have to cover their nose, you know, and their mouth when they go into an operation theater, just because they don't want to spread any infection. So there are good masks in this world. If you have ever been to a masquerade ball or a party, I don't know that any of us have been to a ball, but I've been to a masquerade ball that my church in Florida hosted. And it was a really fun event where, you know, where everyone started to wear this cute little mask and came up, and a guy who's usually shy, all of a sudden he has this amazing courage in him because his face is hidden. Now he's going and picking up girls. It kind of worked for him, you know. So, I mean, masks are not always bad, but it's the intent of how you use it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the technical term of the mask that we wear. But if you go into, Daniel was talking earlier about how James Bond goes into places and he has to disguise himself. Well, I dated a guy who was in Secret Services, which I was not supposed to know, by the way, but I'm intelligent enough to figure it out. And so finally, so I was dating him for a while, and then like he lived in Washington D.C. That's one clue, you know. I'm like, okay. And he had this ridiculously nice house. And one of the times he was visiting with me, I'd asked him, you know, how come you don't share a lot about your life? Because he can't, you know. Yeah. And it was really frustrating to me. And he had a cover. He called himself a real estate agent. Okay, so all I knew, not that he didn't have real estate, he did have real estate, but I actually found out who he really was. For me, I'm not into a guy who disappears on me for 3 or 4 months at a time. So I want to be able to authentically trust someone. There is a person for him somewhere in the world, but it's just not me. One of the things that was frustrating is when you're trying to find out someone, something is off. Because when God created you to be something amazing, and you're going to be different from what he created you to be, you will fail.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because when God created us, he gave all of us a unique fingerprint.
Yes.
Okay? A unique identity. Every single one of us, God created us to be something amazing. Only if you are true to your identity, not covering up anything, that's when you become the most amazing you. Okay? And when we start masking it and pretending to be something we're not, then everything all of a sudden, no one. I don't think I find anyone attractive when they're pretending to be something they're not. Because eventually the real you comes out, and it's rather confusing.
Lies catch up.
And exactly, and anything that is not, anything that is confusing is not of the Lord. I know that in life, when I make decisions, it's usually, if I go into anything, in fact, I got a call this afternoon about my real estate, my home in Florida, one of the realtors called me and said, there's an offer for the house if I want to sell mine because I live here and all that. But one of the first things I asked the Lord, God, is this from you? And if this is from you, then give me peace. Because confusion is not, and chaos or conflict is not from the Lord. Okay? So in your mind, if you don't want to confuse the people around you, first thing you need to come to reality with is that you have to be authentic. To be the person that God created you to be. Jesus doesn't really, and there's a lot of different masks, right? People who pretend to be everything. Like, I got it right. Like Pharisees in the Bible. Jesus didn't hate anybody, okay? But he hated being around these people. In fact, he called them names. You brutal viper snakes. I can't see this loving Jesus going around calling people names that are like, you serpents, and I'm like, how could these people get him mad? It's because they're putting a mask. In fact, Matthew chapter 23, I was reading this recently. It says, woe to you teachers of the law and Pharisees. This is Jesus, right? Saying, you hypocrites. You give 1/10 of your spices, mint, dill, cumin, but you have neglected the most important matter of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guide, you strain out, and but the gnats, but you swallow the camel. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but the inside, they're full of greed and self-indulgence. Okay, and he goes on, and he basically talks about how these people are putting up a show because they're religious people. They want to please the eyes of the world, but God can see the inside of them, and it's garbage. And it's really sad. It really is sad. So if you pretend to be something you're not going to reap any attention that is good from the Lord, let alone from the world. Right? You may have it for a while, but it's not going to be long lasting. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, but the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as a man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Isn't that awesome that you can a lot of rich people, sadly, they have it all, but on the inside they're so empty.
Yes.
Okay? I lived in India for a long time before I moved here. My mom and dad ministered to all kinds of people, from the poor to the rich. And I've been in this really poor person's house in a hut. And I walked in, and this lady, like every Christmas, we walk into, you know, all these people that come to our church. And once a year, we go into their homes, and they bless us. And I could barely get into the hut of this person. But she gave my dad this pot full of coins that she collected over the whole year. And maybe that's the entire livelihood for her. And she gave it to my dad. And then I was like, and my dad's like, no, you can give it to my daughter. And the only two of us who can fit in is just me and my daughter. The rest of the team was standing outside because it's a tiny home. And I felt so hard. I mean, I felt like, how can I take this from her? That's all she has. But my dad's like, well, if you don't take it, you're not allowing her to receive the blessing God has for her, right? But look at this. This woman has nothing, but she gave everything she had. And there are so many examples in the Bible like that, right? So God looks at the heart of a person. It doesn't matter if you have an Aston Martin you're driving around, a Rolls Royce. None of that matters if your heart is garbage. God wants to know what is it that you are on the inside as a person. So don't pretend to be something you're not, number one. Number two, don't disrespect the image of God in you. What do I mean by that? The Word of God says in Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created him. He created them. So if God created all in his image, right? And we display something that he didn't want us to be, and we cover it up with pretense. And I mean, how many know there's a lot of people who are impersonators in this world, right? People, I almost got my identity stolen one time. And thankfully I caught it and before all my bank account was completely taken out of place, you know? And so you never know. There's a lot of people pretending to be something they're not, you know? And sometimes we pretend to be someone like Daniel was talking about earlier. We can pretend to be someone who we're not. In doing so, you're hurting the image of God. Because God created you to be his image. And you're representing him in the unique way he created you. And if you're making anything to be false of that, what you're doing is becoming more like the deceiver, who's the devil, rather than the creator. So don't disrespect the image of God in you by trying to be something you're not. If you want to be closer to the image of God, then be the real you that he created you to be. If you don't do that, you're automatically going into the side of the devil by pretending to be something you're not, because that's who he is, right? He's a fallen angel. The last one, don't copy others. Be authentic. Again, Daniel talked about this earlier. Psalm 139:14 says, "I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made." Can you repeat that after me?
Yeah.
If you believe that God created you beautifully and wonderfully, say that I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And then he goes on to say, your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Okay? Every morning, if you forget anything, if you wake up, if you just memorize this one scripture, you will live with hope for the rest of your life. Lord, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay? And your works are wonderful. I know that full well. I'm going to leave you with this one last quote. I don't really know who wrote it, but it's very powerful. You were born an original, don't die a copy.
Yes, I've heard that.
Okay? God created us to be original, to be who you are. And you can be the best you and have the best life than be someone else that you're not created to be and die a copy. Right? So be authentic to who God created you to be. Masks are very deceiving. Be in the image of God, because every day you wake up, remember that you're fearfully and wonderfully made to represent his image.
All right. Awesome. Good job, baby. So we're gonna close this little discussion with a call to action. Oh, what do we want you to do? So one of the first things, the reason why we talk about anything to you guys is we want you to enjoy life. Whenever you drop the mask down, it's a lot easier to enjoy life when you take your own away. It's hard to enjoy it when you feel like it's a lie. And no matter what you're presenting, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you feel like, if it's not really you, you know. And you won't ever be comfortable with that. Anytime I tried to be something that I wasn't, I never felt comfortable. And so one things I want you guys to know and do is if you put that mask on, you're not going to be comfortable. So please don't put it on. And then I love your closing, Priya, about the value thing, because I was like, okay, what would I want you to do for yourself? What do I want you to do for someone else? And they both get to value when it comes to your own intrinsic value when it comes to masks. For yourself, like I said, leave the mask at home. Believe in yourself. Believe it or not, that you are enough. Be comfortable with who you are. And that all gets down to hold value through negative situations. The reason why I ever put on a mask was something negative happened. And then I thought, I'm not enough for life. And so I'm going to take this, and this will make me enough. And it just led me further and further down into confusion. It was all because I forgot my value. And I started trying to get my value from somewhere else. And that got me nowhere. The only thing that I got was 10 or 15 years later, however long it was, I realized, wow, I've wasted some time. That's the biggest thing. Then with others, what can we do for other people? For ourselves, if we just don't put it down and we understand our true value, we'll be good. What can we do for other people? Treat them with love, regardless of how they act with your expectations. We all have expectations of how we want other people to behave. A Christian's supposed to act like this. My Chick-fil-A, worker is supposed to act like this. They're gonna say these things, and I'm gonna get my little chicken sandwich. It's gonna be great, and we love it when that works. But how do we treat people? How we treat people when things don't work is how people start to lose their sense of value. And if you want to help other people not wear a mask, accept them. And it's easy to accept people when they're weak, when they're strong and when they're doing great, and you're really proud of them. It's hard to accept them when they're weak, when they're ignoring you, and when they're doing bad things. Yeah. That is where a person decides to put on a mask or not, though. And I want to leave everybody with that, is if you can just love them through it, they won't have a reason to need a mask. Yeah. I think, really quick, show of hands, if you can go, okay, I've worn a mask before, put up your hand. Okay, everybody, wow.
You met me in a mask.
And now, did you put on that mask because you felt like you weren't enough? Did you put on that mask because you were trying to get something that would make you feel better because maybe somebody
I put on that mask because I didn't know my identity in Christ.
Right. Yeah. How many of you, raise your hands, how many of you know you put it on because someone else didn't believe in you or someone else hurt you? See, it's about half the room. And that's, like with Priya's closing, that's what it really got down to, is my call of action to you guys, the epic call of action to you guys, is hold value for yourselves and give other people value. Then no one will ever feel a need for a mask. We can't keep masks off everybody, but we can make a difference. And I'd love to see you guys do that. And that's what I'm trying to do, and we're going to definitely make things change. So thank you. We do have a game and a prize. So if you want a chance to win a $5 Starbucks gift card, come into... No.
Do I get to play?
Come into...